What's going on, guys? Welcome back. We are making another tier list video because the last one of these that I did, you guys really seem to enjoy. So we're going to go ahead and do another one. This time, we're going to be doing Splitgate 2 maps. We're going to be tier listing the maps of Splitgate 2, starting with Academy and going all the way to Simulation Mosh Pit. It also includes the Onslaught maps as well. The Onslaught / Battle Royale maps. A lot of cool maps in here, a lot of maps that I don't really like. Some of my criteria for what makes a good map are the size of the map, the portal ability of the map, as well as just, you know, the overall gameplay. How fun is it to play on each map is pretty much going to be what determines my rankings. Mostly just how fun is it to play on each map. You know, how much fun do I have? How much do I enjoy it? So I'm gonna try to be fair. I have played on all of the maps in the game, although the simulation maps I have probably played the least, but I am fairly familiar with them still. I have still a little bit of playtime. So we're gonna start off with Academy. Academy is one of those that is pretty fun to play. I'm gonna put it in A tier. I think it's solid. I think there's plenty of portal routes on this map. Plenty of ways to get across the map. It's not really like, you know, only one way, you know, that you can get across. There's not really one best route to take. There's a couple different routes, and there's a couple different ways you can go about those routes. The reason I don't have it in S tier is because I feel like it kind of has a lot of open space, especially in the outside area, where you have kind of this big dome thing in the back area. There's a lot of open space there, and so it's kind of, you know, when you have that one hot zone point that's or that domination point that's right back here, it makes fighting a little bit awkward, a little bit difficult. So it at some points taken away from that, but it's fun overall. Bypass, probably gonna have to go ahead and put it in D tier. I mean, they did have the update where Bypass has the new portals, but this is going off of the old Bypass before they added the portals in. It's not that great. There's really only one way to get across the map, and the center of it is just very open. There's not really anywhere to portal around, and so it kind of feels like you get caught out in the open a lot on this map. That being said, the new version of this map, much better. I find myself being able to get around a lot faster and being able to get out of tough situations a lot easier with the new portal walls that they added in here. So definitely a big bonus for that. Core, what do I do with core? I'm gonna put core in B. I think it's pretty. I think core is pretty solid. It's pretty fun to play. I enjoy playing in core. It's really small and has a very nice symmetrical layout, and there's plenty of opportunities to make portal plays with it. But actually I kind of like it over Academy. I can't lie. Switch those up. I'm gonna put core above Academy. I kind of like core more than Academy, I think, in my opinion. Eden, this might be a bit of a hot take because I know a lot of people that like this map. I don't really like it. And the reason is kind of similar to Academy. I'm gonna put it in B. It is fun to play on Eden, but it's kind of similar to Academy, where like out in this little garden area, there's not really a lot of potential for portal play. So you kind of just want to sit on the insides back here, where you can actually kind of portal around and get around better. And there is one hot zone or domination zone right in the middle here where there is literally no portals and you're just caught out in the open. That zone is terrible to capture. I hate having to capture that zone because you literally can get jumped on from any direction and there's nothing you can do about it. You can literally just get jumped on from here, from up here, from this way, and there's nowhere that you can go because there's no portal walls around you. And there is a wall right behind it where it would make sense to put a portal wall so that you can try to like get out and reposition yourself a little bit, and it's just not there, so it just becomes really chaotic, and it's not my favorite. But the other modes are usually pretty good. I feel like it's a pretty decent map. Frontier, I'm gonna put in C. I don't think it is the worst of the Sabrask maps, but I think the design of it is a little bit, leaves a lot to be desired. There's a lot of the hot zone and domination zones have a lot of weird angles that people can get in from. There's a lot of zones that are just really hard to take. just because the enemy can kind of trap you into a corner. And it's just really tough to play on this map, I feel like, on certain modes. And I feel like I don't enjoy it as much as I enjoy Eden or Core or even Academy, just in general. Grit is the one I'm going to put in F tier. I'm going to say Grit is probably the worst map in the game. Now, it is a very well-designed map. It does look really cool. I definitely like the night vibes. It definitely has that Sabrask feel, and it's very appropriately named. You know, Grit definitely fits the vibe. It's definitely a very gritty map. But it's just something about the map just doesn't sit right with me. I feel so sluggish when I'm moving around this map. I don't know what it is, but it's like I feel so slow. I feel so sluggish. I feel something just feels off with it. You know, it just doesn't feel quite right to me. And so that's why I'm putting it in F tier, because I think it's my least favorite. And I mean, it is good. I do enjoy playing the map. It's just, I feel like, I don't know. I don't know. Just something doesn't feel right about it. Something just doesn't feel right about it to me, in my opinion. Now we have Ozone. Ozone is also an interesting one. The portal playability is very high, very strong. This feels like the Splitgate map of all Splitgate maps. You know what I mean? It almost feels like Ozone is the stadium of Splitgate 2, which we do have stadium in Splitgate 2, but like Splitgate 1 stadium. Ozone feels like the Splitgate 1 stadium, you know? It feels like the one that's like, you queue up for Ozone, you're like, oh yeah, this is going to be fun. You know, this is going to be a good game. And that's why I'm going to put it up in S tier, because I feel like you get this map and you know it's going to be fun. You know you're going to have the game's going to be fun. And I feel like it's just because it's so close quarters in so many ways. Like, it's longer than it is wide. So a lot of the playability is close quarters. Now, that does mean you're limited in spawn areas, and so it's easy to spawn camp. But at the same time, you can get around the map so quickly just with your portal gun. It just makes for so many plays. And also the launch portals, if you carry enough momentum, you can literally just fly from one side of the map to the other without even touching the ground. It's a lot of fun. I have a lot of fun zipping around Ozone all the time, every time I play it. Stadium, of course, is the remaster from Splitgate 1 Stadium. Makes a few changes. Do I prefer Splitgate 2 Stadium over Splitgate 1 Stadium? I think so. I did get to play Splitgate 1 Stadium when Splitgate 2 went down before launch. I jumped onto Splitgate 1 and I played a match on Stadium, and I don't know, it feels like Stadium and Splitgate 2 is better. Ozone is still the better map of the two, I think, but Stadium and Splitgate 2 I think is better than Stadium and Splitgate 1. There's a lot of similarities, but I think just like the way you move around the map, the angles you can get, I think it is an improvement over Splitgate 1. Overall, you still have the tunnel down underneath. There's a kill portal down there as well in the middle of the map. That's really fun if you can catch people with it. Overall, it's a really solid map, and I think there's definitely plenty of room. It's definitely one of those that, right along with Ozone, you get excited when you queue up for Stadium. It's always, you know, it's going to be a good time. All right, so the last of the arena maps is Zenith. Zenith is a good map, I think. It's very fun. It's the first map that I played on. It's very tight. It's very close quarters. Makes for a lot of really good plays, I think. I don't know what the word I'm thinking, trying to get is. Makes for a lot of good plays. It's really tight. It's really fast. It's really fun. I'm going to put it in B. just above Eden. I prefer it over Eden, but it is. I don't think it's as good as Academy in my opinion. I think I have more fun on Academy than I do on Zenith. But it is a good map. It is a lot of fun. It has a launch portal, but I don't really see people using it a lot because I think it's just not really... The map, I feel like, doesn't really lend itself for that style of play, at least not in the same way that Ozone does, where it is kind of a... There's kind of a setup for that kind of a play, you know? It's not really my favorite. Next up is Onslaught Drought. So now we are on the Onslaught / Battle Royale maps. Or should we do the simulation maps first because they're still smaller? Yeah, maybe we save the BR maps for after. So now we move on to the simulation maps, which the Onslaught maps are first on this tier list here, but I'm going to go ahead for the simulation maps first because I think it makes more sense flow-wise for the smaller maps and then the bigger maps. Simulation Charlie. This one, I'm going to put it in C. I think it's solid. I think it's decent. I did hit a clip on this map where I portaled across to the enemy spawn along with one of my teammates and we insta-wiped the enemy team, which was really fun to do, of course. But at the same time, I don't know. I feel like the layout of it is missing something. Like it doesn't really feel like that. It doesn't really feel the same like that classic takedown map that I'm used to playing. That I remember from Splitgate 1, which like I don't know what it's missing exactly. But I don't know. I think the center area of the map is kind of what is making me not like it as much, because I feel like fights end up just happening up there and it just ends up being a brawl and you never really know like what's gonna happen. Maybe I'm wrong, I don't know, but it's not really my favorite. I mean, it's fun, it's cool, I enjoy it, but I don't know. Simulation Divide. This one I think is probably the worst of the simulation maps, in my opinion. I feel like this long bridge is just kind of, I don't know, I feel like there's kind of like a lot of really empty spaces. Like in the center here, like all this empty space is like nobody ever uses this. Everyone is always either fighting on this side or they're fighting on that side and they're portaling across either way. They're not really, I never see people kind of hanging around or fighting in this area. And so I don't like that. I don't like maps that just have dead space, so they're just kind of sitting there. I get the idea. Aesthetically, it's pretty cool. But like functionality wise, like that's a lot of space that people just aren't ever really fighting in. Like I see people fighting across it, but never really in it. You know, like every fight I feel like is just shooting across this bridge and shooting and portaling across this bridge, and that's it. You know, that's like every fight on this map. It's not really fun for me to play. Whenever I get this map, I'm never really like, oh, this is gonna be a fun game. I'm always just like, oh, it's time to just shoot across the bridge the whole game. So it's not my favorite. Still, well, I can't really compare it to Grit because it's a simulation map. It's a takedown map, so I can't really compare it to Grit. But yeah, it's my least favorite of the simulation maps. Simulation Face Off. This one I'm going to put in B tier because it's not my favorite, but I like the way it's laid out. It's kind of similar to Ozone, where it is longer than wide, and there's kind of like you have your team spawn over here, the enemy team spawn over here, and then you kind of have like a little area in the middle, and that's kind of where you're supposed to fight, and there are launches on either side. And it's pretty fun. It makes for some pretty interesting dynamics in gameplay. It's usually a pretty fun map to play. At any given moment, anyone you're fighting can just be across the other side of the map, which is, I think really good for a simulation map. I think that's a necessity for a simulation map, is that at any moment, like, you have to get the kill quickly, because at any moment in time, the enemy player can just be gone from you. You know what I mean? They can just be gone. And so it's really important, and I think this map really promotes that really well. And speaking of a map that promotes that playstyle very well, we're going to go ahead and put Simulation Hectic in here as well. Simulation Hectic is another map that you can just teleport, across the map at will, just completely, whenever you want. This is really good simulation map. I think it's very open. It's very much, a lot of freedom of movement. You can go wherever you want at any time. It never really feels like you have to take a fight. If you're losing, you can get out easily. But at the same time, though, you're also at danger and at risk of portaling to someone else. So you have to think about it. You have to portal intentionally. And so I think that is a really core part of the gameplay for this map, is thinking intentionally and portaling with purpose, as opposed to some of these other maps where it's just kind of like, you can portal anywhere and just be completely safe. You have to actually portal with purpose on this map, as well as Simulation Mosh Pit, that I'm going to put in S tier. In my opinion, is the best of the simulation maps. It is a solid map, truly it is, and it's a similar kind of system to Hectic, where you really have to think about it. I'm gonna put this one slightly above because of the power weapon placement up here on this platform in the dead center. I think that's a really good spot for it. Really helps to push people to the center of the map more, as opposed to just kind of running around on the edges. If you want the power weapon, you got to go get it in the center, and you're probably going to get shot at up here. Someone's probably going to be up there when you go get it. And so you're probably going to really have to think about it and plan for that, be ready for a fight, which I think is really good and keeps the gameplay fresh for the simulation map. Now we move on. Onslaught. So now we're on the BR map. So the first one up is Drought. Drought, I'm gonna throw it in C tier. It's decent. The layout is, kind of what you would expect out of a Drought map or out of an Onslaught map. I'm gonna take points off here because it's like, I feel like a lot of times when you spawn in really far away from the objective, and there's not always a clear path to the portal to. You're always going to have to run around a certain distance in order to get there. And this is an issue with all Onslaught maps, honestly. But Drought, I feel like more so. I feel like when I get Drought, I'm running around a lot more than on other maps. I'm not really portaling a lot. I feel like I'm just running. So I feel like it could be better. It's not the worst map, but it's definitely not the best either. Onslaught Fracture, kind of similar deal. I'm gonna put it slightly above Drought, but I feel like it's kind of the same case, where it's like there's not really a ton of portal play. I feel like I'm running around a lot. I feel like I'm not really portaling much when I play Fracture. I feel like I'm just running around, trying to, run to the objective, and running around trying to find a portal that can get me to the objective, which is not like Onslaught Glacier at all, which is why I'm putting it in B tier, or A tier, not B tier, which is why I'm putting it in A tier. I feel like Glacier is much better with portal walls, to where no matter where I spawn in, I feel like I can just portal, and I'm on point. The portal walls feel placed a lot better on Glacier than they do on Fracture or Onslaught, or Fracture or Drought. And so I feel like Glacier is the better of the three maps that we've gone over so far. Inferno, I'm going to put in B tier because I feel like it's a mix between Glacier and Fracture, where Glacier has a lot of portal walls. Fracture and Drought don't have a lot. Inferno is kind of in between. There are certain spots on the map that I feel like I'm running around a little bit, but usually I don't have to run very far to find a portal wall or find a way or find some route to get to the point. You know, I don't have to run very far to find a wall to get to point or a route to get to point. And so that's why I'm kind of putting it under Glacier, but above Fracture, because it could have more walls, but it still feels pretty good. Sanctum is an interesting one because it's only available in the Battle Royale, and it is the smallest of the Onslaught maps, and so for that reason, like everything about like the I mean the vibe of it is great. Like I love running into Sanctum. It's really cool the way the other biomes all have, you know, kind of bleed into it a little bit from where the portals are on the map, and then all leads to the center tower. But the map itself, I just have to be honest with myself here. I'm gonna put it into D. It's very small. It doesn't have a lot of portals. Anytime I'm in Sanctum, I don't find myself using portals very often. It feels like just, you know, Halo deathmatch whenever I'm in Sanctum. Because I feel like I just don't find myself using portals a lot because I don't find myself seeing a lot of portals. So that's kind of my take. That's kind of my opinion. So yeah, that's my tier list. Ozone, the best map in the game, in my opinion. Grit, the worst map in the game, in my opinion. Yeah. This is just kind of how I feel about how much fun I have on all the maps. And yeah, let me know what you think down in the comments. And if you liked, be sure to like the video and subscribe.